7 o'clock.
Thank you.
Time to start the meeting, regular meeting of County Board of Commissioners, October 27th. Will we start with the
Invocation.
invocation? I have trouble with those big words.
Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day. We thank you for the opportunity to serve our community this evening. Guide our decisions as we deliberate issues. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Will you call the roll, please?
Commissioner Wheelock,
Yes, ma'am.
Police,
Present.
Max Bauer,
Here.
Richardson,
Here.
Stefka,
Here.
Friend, here, Inman,
Here.
Hooper,
Here.
Thomas.
Here. Next item is the approval of the minutes, September 29th and September 20th and 21st, the special board meeting.
Mr. Chairman, I would move to approve the minutes as mailed.
Support.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion carries. Now is the item, next item is the first public comment. Anybody wants to speak, come up to the seat after she reads the rules.
Any person shall be permitted to address a meeting of the Board of Commissioners which is required to be open to the public under the provision of the Michigan Open Meetings Act as amended. Public comment shall be carried out in accordance with the following board rules and procedures. 1. Any person wishing to address the board shall state his or her name and address. 2. No person shall be allowed to speak more than once on the same matter, excluding time needed to answer commissioners' questions. The chairperson shall control the amount of time each person shall be allowed to speak, which shall not exceed 3 minutes. Chairperson may, at his or her discretion, extend the amount of time any person is allowed to speak.
Have you heard that? Who would like to be first? No.
That'll be done
You'll have an
separately.
opportunity to pull anything off.
Still speak.
That's okay.
Sure.
Okay. Good evening. My name is Linda McGuire, 889 Windmill Lane, Traverse City. I'm an employee of Grand Traverse County. I was asked by a coworker to read a letter to the commissioners regarding the health insurance contract. I'll start with that. To the Grand Traverse County Board of Commissioners, I'm disappointed by the board's decision to change health insurance carriers for the employees of Grand Traverse County because it will require many employees to seek new participating physicians. While I appreciate the board members' responsibility to their constituents to provide services inexpensively, I regret that the board did not further consider the cost to its employees. The success of the doctor-patient relationship is highly dependent upon trust and history. I can think of few other services in which continuity of service is as important, yet the board may have overlooked this important fact. I have been told by informed people who will remain unnamed that the Blue Care Network's bid was unrealistically low and that they were essentially buying our business. It would seem then we should expect a sizable increase in this contract for subsequent years as Blue Care Network attempts to recover its margin. What then? Will it be the board's policy to switch insurance carriers annually as other companies wishing to buy our business come into the market, minimizing the consequences of this practice on the employees as the board seeks to negotiate a more rewarding contract? In order to provide continuity to its employees' medical needs, would it not be better to afford the current carrier the opportunity to meet the bid of the competing companies, thus providing greater health care stability to its employees while still acknowledging the responsibility of the board to its citizens? It is for this reason that I ask the board to reconsider its decision to change the health care insurance provider for the employees of Grand Traverse County. It's from Ernie Kachalia. He is the GIS coordinator here at Grand Traverse County. I have a couple of questions that I would like you to explore in your discussion of the topic. I learned that there are currently about 50 people, or 10% of the Grand Traverse County employees that fall under the current priority POS plan. I'd like to know the anticipated effect of changing to the Blue Care Network on that count. How many employees will now become POS customers? If you recall, that's the group or the service that is going to go up by about 45% cost-wise. I don't believe that you can make an informed decision without knowing how widespread that is. It was indicated that there are approximately 10% fewer doctors participating in the Blue Care Network than priority. So the question is, how many families are patients of that missing 10% of physicians? Priority should be able to provide a pretty accurate estimate of how many people, not who, but how many people are using physicians that can be cross-referenced with the Blue Care Network provider list, so you can have a true effect. As I reviewed the video last week's meeting, I was assuming that a sealed bid process was being used. I was confused why carriers, it appeared that they were submitting multiple bids. It's now my understanding that it was not a sealed bid scenario, but instead pretty much two vendors in a bidding war. That being said, I would ask that you reconsider the final competitive bid that was submitted by priority. The county will still save on the premiums, the employees retain their physicians, POS costs are held from escalating by 45%, and benefit coverages remain intact. So I don't think you have to worry about them not bidding next year. It's a $5 million contract. I think they'll bid. And with that, I look forward to your discussion, and thank you for your time.
Thank you. Who's next?
My name's Ron Crowfoot. I live on County Line Road in Kingsley. And thank you for letting me be here today. We're very appreciative that we could be and that we get a chance to address the commission. We're very grateful that we've had a long time to be the health carrier for Grand Traverse County over the last 12 years. We're grateful that you've given us time to address the commission tonight. My message to the commission is this. We want to remain your partner in providing health care for your employees and their families. And there's a couple of reasons that I want to mention for that. First, we've delivered exceptional value to Grand Traverse County over these last 12 years. 93 cents of every dollar that we collect goes back out in benefits to your employees and their families. And second of all, this was not a formal bid process. There were no bid specifications published, no deadlines published. What occurred this year was a process of rate renewal, an informal back and forth of requests and responses, as is typically done. We were asked for initial 2011 rates, and we provided subsequent updates based on back and forth exchanges relating to the county's expectations and an assessment of claims results. The only date ever given came in an email that was received on the evening of October 13th with a deadline of the next day. I asked for and expected that we would be given more information and the opportunity to respond to any questions and concerns regarding our rate renewal. I want to underscore Priority Health has always worked to meet the expectations and constraints of the county. If the expectations of the county are based on the competitive environment, then we welcome the challenge. Please know that I intended no disrespect to any of you by the letter that I sent detailing the specific reasons supporting my request for consideration. We value the relationship that we have had with you for the last 12 years. First, I just want to say again, it was not a formal bid process, but we apologize for the confusion that occurred this year. I want to apologize for the timing and sequence of these events and whatever Priority Health may have done to make your jobs more difficult. We have a long history of providing value to Grand Traverse County and its taxpayers. During our 12-year relationship, we've worked together to help manage your health care costs and improve the health of your employees and their families. And I don't make that claim lightly. We run a cost-effective plan. Our premium rates meet your budget requirements and match the competitor's proposal. It should be noted that by changing carriers, employees covered by the point-of-service product will pay more. We have a consistent record of pricing. With Priority Health, you never have had, and under my watch, you never will have. Okay. Time? Okay. You never will have wild swings year to year in your rates. Over the last 4 years, our rate increases have averaged 5%, and that beats the industry average, which is 10% or more over the last 4 years. And again, your Public Act 106 data shows that over the past 4 years, we've found an exceptional value. 93 cents of every premium dollar we've collected, we've paid out in benefits, leaving 7 cents on the dollar to operate your program, including commissions. And my third point is that by staying with Priority Health, there will be no disruption to your employees or your employee benefits staff here. No one will have to change doctors. No one will have to change specialists. No one will have to renew their specialist relationships or change prescription drugs. We've appreciated the opportunity to serve Grand Traverse County over the past 12 years. I compliment you for doing due diligence on behalf of the taxpayers of Grand Traverse County and respectfully request that you continue what has been a healthy relationship with Priority Health. I ask you to consider all the disruptive impacts and cost to your employees and human resources staff with no cost savings to the county. I can answer any questions if you would like. And I have a request that if item number 40 could be pulled off the consent.
It'll probably be pulled,
Chances are
I
good.
suspect.
Thank you very much.
My name is Paul Johnson. I live at 8445 M66 in Fife Lake, and I'm an employee of Grand Traverse County. I'm the grounds maintenance coordinator in the facilities management department, and I wrote a impact statement on the decision to eliminate a grounds maintenance person out of the 2011 budget. In 1997, I started with Grand Traverse County, and at the time there was 12 maintenance employees and 8 custodians. We maintained 7 buildings, including the governmental center, the law enforcement center, the historic courthouse, the health service building, 520 Front Street, the Civic Center, Twin Lakes, and numerous other areas like animal control, 6 central dispatch towers, and park structures, and both city fire stations. At the time, we implemented a preventive maintenance system tracked by the computer and performed on a regular schedule and attended to breakdowns and emergencies as needed. Since that time, we added 4 sites, including the Woodmere Law Enforcement Center, the Public Service Building on Lafreniere Road, the Hall of Justice, Vasa Trailhead, and we remodeled and added jail space, or bed space at the jail, adding more than 100,000 square feet and hundreds of acres of parkland, like Maple Bay and the Tart Trail, and updated landscaping at Twin Lakes. This added a considerable amount of mechanical items to the workload, such as 85 fan control units, 4 unit heaters, 17 furnaces, 23 AC units, 20 air handlers, 15 condensers, 70 condenser fans, 61 rooftop exhaust fans, 21 water heaters, 4 storage water tanks, a new solar heater system at the Civic Center, 39 refrigerated drinking fountains, and that just names a few. At the time, some of our original buildings have become more aged. Our current staffing is now at 11. Originally, it was at 12. The custodians are at 11, so we added 3 custodians since then. And there's a chance of losing 1 of each in 2011. In addition to that, we'll lose 2 part-time seasonal workers in the summer. That would only compound our workload during the busiest season. Other properties have deteriorated to require more maintenance and repair. Recent investments have increased the required maintenance at some sites, such as Twin Lakes, the jail, etc. And yet other sites have just had significant investments like the third floor of the Gov Center, the historic courthouse, which have the potential to go into disrepair. I have heard mentioned that if contracting was the most economical way, that we should look at that. And I want to point out that already we do that when the area of specialty or complexity of the job would withdraw our staff from their current duties. Those situations are looked at on a job-by-job basis, and that would continue to probably be the case. With the previous mention of the preventive maintenance system on backlog and parts of the work order system running a full year behind, I do not believe that a reduction in staff is the best way to protect the assets and investments that have been made in the last 10 years. We as a department have become reactive to situations rather than proactive. The reduction in staff would only accelerate the deterioration of the properties and potentially cost the citizens more in the long run. With the 5-year improvement plan having been removed from the budget in 2009, 2010, and now in 2011, it's just going to add to the situation. The preventive maintenance plan would suffer more than it currently does and would essentially become non-existent. Although facilities management would continue to provide the best quality services possible, it would become increasingly more difficult as the buildings age, equipment becomes older, and staffing decreases. In terms of equipment and vehicles, the age of our fleet, with only 2 mowers newer than 8 years old, and the age of our truck fleet averaging 11 years and no replacement plan in place, that only increases the amount of service required to keep running. Although we understand how the current economic time affects the situation, we do not understand how a lack of maintenance is the solution to the long-term stability of Grand Traverse County assets. Although losing one grounds maintenance worker might not seem too detrimental to the operation on the outside, it could have a profound effect on the ability to maintain the properties in a timely manner. The preventive maintenance system currently has 21 outstanding work orders dating back to 9/18/09. Because we often work as a team, helping and assisting each other, the lost grounds maintenance worker has a deeper effect than not cutting the grass. Our ability to have the
Could you
snow
wind it up,
removed.
please? Wind it up, please.
Our ability to have the snow removed from walks before the buildings open in the morning and our response to emergencies could have a delay. Our ability to inspect and repair play structures at a high frequency would be affected. I hope you would reconsider reducing the staff and take a look at the long-term effects it could have on the future budgets and costs to the citizens of Grand Traverse County. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I have a question for him. Paul, do you do the grounds work at Twin Lakes, or does the caretaker?
It's a shared operation. He does most of the mowing. He goes on vacation for 3 weeks every year, and we take care of it during the 3 weeks that he's gone. We do all the repair and maintenance on the sprinkler system out there, help him striping his fields. We maintain and now inspect and maintain the playground that was put in. He's not certified for doing that. So there are some things that we do. It's a team effort, but he does most of the mowing throughout the growing season.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Thank you. Who else would like to speak?
My name is Doug Compo. I'm a retiree of the Grand Traverse County, early retirement. And late September, I sent a letter out to Chairman Thomas and a copy to all the other commissioners here on my insurance. As I indicated in my letter, I am requesting that you revisit the health insurance matter. As it stands right now, I'm paying $1,120 a month out of my pocket, and the county is paying $311 out of yours, for a total of over $1,400 a month for my insurance. And it's getting to the point that it's pretty hard or pretty unbearable to take. And whether you do a new insurance company or an old, I think we can revisit this and see if we can't come to a little better number on that. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Doug. Anyone else?
Jamel Anderson, 600 Cherry Ridge Drive. I'm also an employee of Grand Traverse County, and I'm also here reference the potential change to our health care provider. I've spoken to a couple of commissioners, and I actually didn't anticipate being here tonight, so I'm glad for the opportunity. Parent-teacher conferences were canceled because of a power outage, so I completely understand the bid process, having been involved in that a lot of times throughout my time at the county. I'm a little unclear about how this one was set up. I never had a bid process myself where I went back and kind of said, is that your final answer? And, went back and forth a little bit. So I'm a little confused about that. And I did go back and looked at the meeting so it would kind of help me understand. I also agree that all of us have a level of integrity to uphold when we look at that process, and we don't want to have people think that the process is not worthwhile and that we're just going to change it on a whim because we feel like it or someone put in a bid late or something like that. It seems to me that this isn't quite that situation because of the way that the bid process was structured. It wasn't done internally, and I may be incorrect, I don't know, but it doesn't seem like it was a clear-cut, easy to understand and follow bid process. I am one of the people who participates in the POS plan for priority, so I would be one of the people that would have an increase of about 45% should I choose to stay on that. I realize it's a choice. I have some health issues with my family that it's beneficial for me to make that decision. That's almost an additional $500 a year for the people who would choose to stay on that plan. I've had several of my staff speak to me. I've forwarded emails to you, and some of them, I just thought it was mine, sorry. I forwarded emails to you from some of them. Some of them just came back to work after days off, and so I've spoken to them. And in the meantime, they've been checking to see who out of their doctors participate with the Blue Cross program. And I've had one person whose doctor participates with it. The rest are not participating. And it takes quite some time to establish a relationship with a physician or a specialist. And it does take a matter of history, and it's a matter of trust, and it's a matter of just being able to communicate with that person. Speaking for them and myself, I do not relish going out and trying to find another primary care physician for myself, another specialist for myself, and another specialist for my daughter who has chronic ear issues. I do understand the dilemma you're in, but I do ask that you consider strongly the effect that it has on the employees. And speaking for myself, I have a daughter who's had 3 ear surgeries. She had 1 last month. She goes to a specialist downstate that they are extremely good with ear problems, and she has an unusual situation. I do not want to have to try and find somewhere else. I mean, it was hard enough to get this place and get it all set up, and we've been going there for probably 7 years. And they're a priority participant. They're not a Blue Cross participant. So, that's my own selfish take on that, but it's my job to champion my family, and I will. It's my job to champion my staff, and on their behalf and mine, I ask you to reconsider. Thank you.
Anyone else? If not,
Thank you very much. My name is Andy Holkreeve. I'm the sales consultant with Blue Care Network, and Kelly Monterusso, Director of Sales for Blue Care Network and Blue Cross Blue Shield. Excuse me. And just wanted an opportunity to say on our behalf, as far as this process has gone, we've operated in good faith, negotiated in good faith, abided by the timelines, and, in an ethical manner. As far as some of the concerns that are out there, certainly doctors being in network, we haven't had a true opportunity to determine who is and who isn't. And without getting into too much detail, the way Priority will list a primary care physician, a nurse practitioner, or a physician's assistant, we don't list them as primary care physicians, but that doesn't mean they can't see them. Simply because we only certify, or will put a primary care physician that's a board-certified physician. There's a lot of questions, I think, that we haven't had an opportunity based on data that we haven't received to really make the determination for your members. And I guess, is there anything else you want to add to that, or?
Yeah, I would. And again, good evening, and thank you for the opportunity. Just in terms of representing Blue Cross, and then in this instance, there is a BCN bid on the table, and that's our managed care HMO, which is different than the Blue Cross network. And just to speak historically, over the last 70 years, in terms of Blue Cross and the reputation, we've been providing Michigan citizens access to quality and accessible health care. We're dedicated to Michigan, and then also too, over the several years, we've had a location here and have invested in the county through jobs that we have here available, and then also through giving back to the community. And one of the things that historically, Blue Cross has an excellent network here. Blue Cross is a different PPO product, and which is regulated different. In this bid process, in an effort to be competitive, we came in with the Blue Care Network bid, which is comparable to what you have with Priority Health in terms of receiving the benefit information and the premium dollars. And last year, we also had the opportunity to bid as well. And last year, we were in a different position in terms of our network. We had a couple of significant holes in our primary care network, obviously disclosed that with our bid process. And again, the disruption just didn't warrant making the move. This year, we're in a different situation in terms of we've been able to fill network gaps and network holes, which coincides with the monetary bid that we put in place. And our intent in the Traverse City market is to grow BCN, and there may be a small percent of disruption, as noted through some of the individuals that are here today. And in many instances, when you're going into a new market and you're building a network and contracting with doctors, the first question they ask is, well, what membership do you have? Well, you don't have any membership if you don't have the doctors. And so it's a chicken and an egg scenario. And we're finally to a point where we have enough momentum and we have enough doctors within the network to be able to put forth a good, competitive, viable bid. And we would look forward to having the opportunity to work to provide health insurance with the county employees. And with any network gaps that there would be, we would certainly be willing to look at those and to work with those physicians and to work through those. And I think anytime you change an insurance carrier, you're going to have some disruption. But rest assured that we do have local presence here and local individuals that would work through that. And again, appreciate at least having the opportunity to be part of the bid process and recognizing that.
If I could just add two last things. Keep in mind, Blue Care Network is the largest HMO in the state, and we contract with every hospital in the state. So as far as specialists and centers of excellence, U of M, Beaumont, all those are in-network hospitals for Blue Care Network. And then the second thing I just sort of throw out there is, in terms of what's best for not only the county employees, but the Grand Traverse County, this is a good thing because it creates a sense of competition in a marketplace where last year we couldn't compete because we didn't have Grand Traverse internists and Thirlby Clinic. We've closed that gap, and now we can compete on a playing field that will allow other competitors to sharpen their pencils. By making this move, this sort of creates a level playing field across the board, and I think will benefit ultimately all employers and all employer groups in the Grand Traverse County to get the most competitive bid they can. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Can I have your names again? I'm sorry, I didn't catch it.
Andy Holtgreave.
Okay.
And it's Kelly Monterusso, Monterusso.
Anyone else? Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate it.
Anybody else? With that, I will close public comment. We'll move on to special orders of business. First is a public hearing on,
Approval of the agenda.
you want to approve the agenda?
Motion to approve the agenda?
Okay.
Support.
Moved and supported, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, the same, carried. Yeah, I just turned the page, that's all.
Mr. Chairman, we had an issue come up late today that is a last-minute issue. It's a request to go into a closed session to discuss a settlement proposal that we received that has that is time-sensitive, and so I'd ask for commissioners to consider adding that to the agenda. It should not take very long. It would be a closed session to discuss the case of Patrick Nolan.
I would move to reconsider the earlier decision of approving the agenda.
Support.
I didn't hear you.
I just moved to reconsider the earlier motion of approving the agenda.
Well, we really didn't have to do that if we're going into a closed session, but that's all right. All in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Opposed, the same, carried. Now, we can go to special orders of business.
No.
Well, now
we
we can
still have
Now we have to
approve
approve
an
the
agenda.
agenda with the addition.
We don't have one.
Motion to
Mr.
approve the
Chairman.
agenda as
You're going to
amended.
have to talk a little louder, I'm not hearing too good tonight.
Support.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, the same,
Who made the motion?
I did.
Beth and I seconded.
Friend?
carried.
All right, Dickie.
Now can I? Our special order of business, the first thing is a public hearing on the Boardman Lake Avenue Pathway for Trail System. Who wants to cover that?
Martin, Jeff.
Good evening. My name is Jean Dorenzi with the Grand Traverse County Planning and Development Department.
And I'm Ben Byfoss, Traverse City Manager.
The brownfield plan before you today is upon the request from the City of Traverse City for additional public infrastructure improvements for the construction of Boardman Lake Avenue and the construction of a non-motorized trail to connect to the east side of Boardman Lake. As part of the construction of the avenue, purchase of rail right-of-way by the Grand Traverse County Land Bank Authority is part of this brownfield plan. With the construction of Boardman Lake Avenue, it'll also alleviate and relieve about between 50 to 80% of traffic on Cass and Union Street. And on the screen above you is the TART trail, the non-motorized trail, which is a recreational component that we would be putting into the brownfield plan. And one of the goals of the brownfield is to put a recreational component into these brownfield plans to look at the economic benefits. And this will definitely be a true economic impact to our community. Concurrence of the plan will be sought by the City Commission on November 1st. The infrastructure cost of the plan, as identified in your packet, is $10,713,850 for Michigan Economic Growth Authority and for $758,461 in DNRE eligible activities. The duration of the plan does not change. It ends in 2030. The Brownfield Authority recommends approval of this, and we're here to answer any questions.
Well, before we go too far, we do have to open this public hearing. If anybody wants to speak on the issue. Does anyone? Yes, sir. I just wanted to add a couple of comments.
Right now, the way that the...
What's your name, please?
Oh, it's Randy Lyon. I'm at 1011 Lake Ridge Drive, Unit 104 in Traverse City. The plan that's in front of us, or above us, shows the trail being completed along the water's edge up to just the south edge of the Lake Ridge condominiums, which point out up here. Right over here, there's a spot where the trail kind of goes down to one and comes straight back up. residents at the condominiums have, had an issue with that being put in exactly the way it looks on this drawing. For one thing, safety issues. Another thing, the closeness of the trail to the condominiums themselves. We've got probably 75% of the individual residents at the condominiums are senior citizens. And we'd like to keep it as peaceful and quiet as we can around, but we also would like to see a trail, but we think that it could be better served if it went behind the condominiums. There's a road that runs right down alongside the tracks between the condominiums and the railroad tracks. There would be a better served trail. It would provide a straight, flat access for people commuting back and forth to work down the trail. If you went on this particular trail, go down that section that goes to the south of the condominiums, it's a very steep, hill that they've got to go down. One that has about 1 to 10 foot rise, and I think it's going to be very difficult for the average bicyclist or pedestrian to get up and down that thing without a lot of problems. Plus, I think we're going to have people that'll be going down it and end up in the lake because it just goes down and then makes a turn right at the lake. We'd like to work with the city and the county to make sure that this thing goes in, but that it goes in where it would be safer and more presentable to the people in the area. So we just wanted to, get that comment in. We do want trail, and we do want to be a part of the design of it. So,
Mr. Chairman?
Put a soap dish down there. And when they go into the lake, they can take a bath.
Mr. Chairman, maybe Gene could address that. Gene, we're not tied to this exact route, are we? Or Ben, you want to do that?
Ben Byfoss, Traverse City Manager. We've met with the condominium representative several times, and the area in question is this area right in here. And the alternate proposal would basically follow this grade here. And we're certainly willing to consider that and would include them in the design process when we get there. We're just not there yet. The reason these lines are where they are is because that's where existing easements already exist. So we know that it can be built in these locations based on the existing easements, but the consideration of an alternate here really in some ways probably does make a better transportation route as opposed to along the lake being more of a recreational route. So we're considering that.
A decision by the county board tonight does
Doesn't tie
not
you to any of
impact your
those.
ability to change that.
No, it does not.
It's within the plan and it can be
Right.
moved.
It just moves the thing forward.
Yes, that's correct.
And you are willing to consider, that is an extremely steep drop.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. And we've committed to work with them. The biggest issue is really the acquisition of right-of-way or easement through here for the trail, and if that's possible. And the cost of the trail construction is not huge. I mean, that's not a really big dollar item either.
Is there anybody else who wants to speak to the issue? Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, my name is Dan Welburn, and I live at 1122 Lake Ridge in the village, in the area that Randy has very eloquently described for you. Some considerations about this plan that I think are already before you, and I think we should thank the people who've made this presentation for the detail that they've given you. I want to reiterate what they've said, although this is very much a concern that we have too. I would like to identify something else that I've identified before the Traverse City Commission. and that is that Great Lakes Central Railroad is presently using their railroad tracks in our neighborhood for a salvage yard. I think this is something that is contrary to the ideas of your Brownfield project, and I don't think it's something we want in Traverse City. I would urge that any planning that you do on this incorporate a restriction of that. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Do you have anything else to say, Mr. Byfoss or Gene?
While completely unrelated to the Brownfield plan, we have pretty thoroughly investigated the use of that area to store rail cars, and government is very limited on how much we can influence the railroad. We just have very little influence. It's been a field pretty well usurped completely by the federal government. So just an answer to the question.
But if the railroad right-of-way is purchased, then the rail cars would be removed, correct?
My expectation is that there would continue to be some rail right-of-way through that area. It may be limited in the number of side spurs that are available for storage, but there would continue to be rail.
Anybody else got a question or anything?
Gene, this is without any cost to the county. We're not pledging county monies for this project, correct?
You would be, tax increment financing would be used for the project. No general fund, but this is a tax increment financing plan.
You made the statement that the building of Boardman Lake Avenue will relieve 50 to 80% of the traffic on Cass Street.
Correct.
Do you know where that?
Cass and Union.
Cass and Union. Do you know where that figure came from?
The city engineer, then you might be able to identify the study that was completed.
There was a study completed back in the early part of the decade that indicated that. That strikes me as perhaps overly optimistic, but there would certainly be some significant reduction.
You have a quote, 30-year plan. The TIF isn't going to last 30 years on this.
The 30-year plan would be a TIF plan.
For 30, okay.
For 30 years, until 2030. And that is the maximum that you would go. So the costs that we have, if they are less than that, then the plan would end when the reimbursement is complete.
Gene, the plan was established 10 years ago.
Correct.
For 30 years, the maximum. So it's just, this is just amending the plan to include this area for the road improvements and for the
But the
trail
amendment does not extend the term. The
No.
term stays the same as was originally established.
Right.
So what is the geographic location of the entire brownfield plan on this project? Does it starts at 16th Street or something and goes?
The brownfield plan, if you lay that over, it ends a little bit before the city limits, and then it goes, it's shaded in green, up to this area up here.
That's 8th Street.
So it's like 16th Street to 8th Street, 8 blocks.
Almost 16th, I think.
You know, it's almost the whole west side of the lake.
Yes.
In order for you and Mr. Byfoss to be able to work with Lake Ridge property owners, do we need to pass this tonight?
We won't even begin a design process until 2011, and that's really when we need to get together and work through those issues. But there are other portions of the Boardman Lake Avenue project that we hope to move more quickly than that, so we would hope that you could pass this evening.
Are we still in the public hearing?
Oh, yeah. Okay, anybody else want to speak on the issue? If not, I'll close the public hearing, and you have a resolution to concern yourself with.
Mr. Chairman, I would move that we approve the resolution amending the brownfield plan for the Boardman Lake Avenue pathway for trail system.
Support.
Is there support? Been moved and supported. Any further comments?
The only thing I would wish to add would be that we stipulate that that is with the agreement of the city commission because they have not approved this yet. So, we're not going to do it if the city commission doesn't approve it.
I just want reassurance one more time that this is not set in cement if we pass this tonight, and that you will work with the Lake Ridge property owners.
This is not set in cement.
Thank
And
you.
we will work with the Lake Ridge property owners.
Thank you.
Does the mover agree to the,
I
Yep.
don't see the point in it, frankly.
That's fine.
well, if they don't want it, it's not going to go ahead anyways, right?
They don't approve it, it doesn't go anywhere.
Right. By roll call vote.
Commissioner Fleece?
Yes.
Max Bauer?
Yes.
Richardson?
Yes.
Stepka?
Yes.
Friend?
Yes.
Inman?
Yes.
Hooper?
Yes.
Wheelock?
Yes, ma'am.
Thomas?
Yes. The next item is a public hearing for the approval of Land Bank Authority Brownfield Plan for the redevelopment of land bank parcels.
This is the first land bank brownfield plan that is before you today, which incorporates 6 tax foreclosed properties into a brownfield plan, 1 of which is in Blair and 5 in Green Lake. The ability to utilize the brownfield authority to demolish structures on 2 or 3 of the parcels and prepare them for development, and to work with our nonprofits to build housing components will improve and benefit the townships and the neighboring properties. The total cost of the brownfield plan is $50,842, with the plan in place for 16 years. Concurrence was received by Green Lake Township and by Blair Township, and the Brownfield Authority is recommending approval.
I'll open up for a public hearing on this subject. Anybody want to speak on? Probably not. This isn't very exciting. Although it'll help Green Lake Township. Okay, nobody wants to speak on it, close the public hearing, and
Well, contrary to your statement, I believe this is exciting. I think it's the first opportunity that Grand Traverse County has had to use the tool of the Land Bank Authority to take tax foreclosed properties that have demolished buildings and, vacant trash. We literally hired contractors, the Land Bank Authority contracted contractors to clean up these sites and thereby clean up the neighborhoods. So, to me, that is exciting that the Land Bank is being able to do that. So, that's the only point I have, and when you're done with the hearing, I will make a motion to approve the resolution approving the brownfield plan on the Land Bank Authority parcels.
Second.
well, yeah, because we already were, so. Any further discussion? A roll call.
I just had a question for Gene. So
I didn't say it wasn't exciting.
Well, you sort of did. The tax increment financing, this is on the 6 parcels, we'll pay back the $50,800.
Correct.
Over a period of how many years?
16 years.
16 years, okay. And even if they're donated to nonprofits, they'll still at some point generate tax revenue?
Yes, yes. If it goes to a nonprofit, they still pay the property taxes, but with the land bank's involvement, we'll be able to give the property at a much less value, so it'll help them keep the costs down and bring an affordability to those homes.
Okay, thank you.
I think it would have been impressive if we could have thought about it ahead of time, and I'd have called you, have you bring the pictures of what these sites looked at before we went in and cleaned them up, and what they looked like after we did. The
Yeah.
neighborhoods have to be very excited about the change.
It's a
I've
huge
seen most
improvement.
of them. One of them is a vacant 40, right?
Right.
Yes.
Can't change the looks of that much.
No, well,
Yeah, but we cleaned up a lot of trash that was on it.
It's a dandy. All right. We have a motion and support by roll call vote.
Commissioner Max Bauer?
Yes.
Richardson?
Yes.
Stepka?
Yes.
Friend?
Yes.
Inman?
Yes.
Hooper?
Yes.
Wheelock?
Yes, ma'am.
Fleece?
Yes.
Thomas?
Yes. Moving right along, if I can get on the right page. Next item is Community Foundation presentation.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, my name is Philip Ellis. I'm the relatively new Executive Director of the Grand Traverse Regional Community Foundation. My predecessor, Gene Snow, had worked with the counties to name October Community Foundation Month. So we use that opportunity to go to the 5 counties that we represent as a community foundation. That is Antrim, Leelanau, Benzie, Kalkaska, and Grand Traverse counties. What I've offered you is our relatively hot-off-the-press annual report. And I'd just like to share with you that in many ways, the needs are greater in our region today than in several generations. And that's actually not in several years, but several generations. And food pantries, environmental associations, education, basic human needs, the call to a charitable response is being heard. Philanthropy is about the transfer of private wealth to public good, and it is not the answer by any means, but it is part of the answer. Our annual report that you have reflects some of the things that the Community Foundation, your Community Foundation, is engaged in. On the inside flap, you see the Grand Traverse County Board of Directors that represent Grand Traverse. There are currently 32 Board of Directors. These Grand Traverse County directors are, in fact, continuing 2010, and we have not added any from Grand Traverse County. The Community Foundation was started in 1992 by Rotary Charities, and in many ways we partner with governmental entities, churches, nonprofit organizations to improve and enhance the life in our 5-county region. We appreciate the opportunity to share with you a little bit of what we've been up to. For me, to let you know who I am, being the new guy, and just to give you the opportunity, if you have any, to at least share any questions, concerns you have about your community foundation. Also to identify the directors who do represent Grand Traverse County. One of the things I direct your attention to is also on the inside flap on the right-hand side, there are a couple of pie charts. The left-hand pie chart reflects the average of $2.2 million that has been given out by the foundation. This in the years 2003 to 2009. The pie on the right was 2009 only. Sometimes pie charts are interesting to look at changes. One of the things you see is that, I'll call it, I'm not sure what I would call it, but the pie that got bigger is basic human needs. And one of the things that reflects is a great deal more of, percentage-wise, the resources of the Community Foundation going to the basic human needs with a variety of services, as mentioned, food pantries, health care, social services, and so forth. This community and our region is blessed to have the likes of the Community Foundation, Rotary Charities, the environmental organizations, and so forth, and we appreciate your support and thank you for the opportunity to remind you of us, and be certainly willing to answer any questions that the Commission might have of myself regarding the foundation.
You got any questions? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Very interesting. Okay, next is the consent calendar.
The purpose of the consent calendar is to expedite business by grouping non-controversial items together to be dealt with by one commission motion without discussion. Any member of the commission, staff, or the public may ask that any item on the consent calendar be removed therefrom and placed elsewhere on the agenda for full discussion. Such requests will be automatically respected. If any item is not removed from the consent calendar, the action noted, receive and file or approval, is approved by a single commission action adopting the consent calendar. Receive and file, number 1, correspondence of July 2nd, 2010 to Central Dispatch. Number 2, memo dated September 27th, 2010 regarding fiscal year 2011 county jail reimbursement program options. Number 3, resolution regarding increase in juvenile justice residential programs from Hillsdale County. Number 4, Brownfield Redevelopment Authority minutes of June 30th, 2010. Number 5, Economic Development Corporation minutes of July 8th, 2010. Number 6, Brownfield Redevelopment Authority minutes of July 28th, 2010. Number 7, Economic Development Corporation minutes of August 12th, 2010. Number 8, Board of Public Works minutes of August 23rd, 2010. Number 9, G5 Subcommittee minutes of August 30th, 2010. Number 10, Northwestern Regional Airport Commission minutes of August 31st, 2010. Number 11, Area Agency on Aging minutes of September 2nd, 2010. Number 12, Resource Recovery Council minutes of September 2nd, 2010. Number 13, Central Dispatch Policy Board minutes of September 9th, 2010. Number 14, Sewer and Water Committee minutes of September 9th, 2010. Number 15, Resource Recovery Council Subcommittee minutes of September 10th, 2010. Number 16, Conservation Resource Alliance minutes of September 16th, 2010. Number 17, Resource Recovery Council Subcommittee minutes of September 23rd, 2010. Number 18, Northwestern Regional Airport Commission minutes of September 28th, 2010. Number 19, Public Health and Safety Committee draft minutes of October 6, 2010. Number 20, Resource Management and Administration Committee draft minutes of October 13th, 2010. Referrals, none. Approvals. Public Health and Safety Committee recommends approval of the following resolutions. Number 21, Grand Traverse Sheriff's Office surplus vehicles. Number 22, Comprehensive Planning, Budgeting, and Contracting Agreement for fiscal year 2011. Number 23, Counseling Services Agreement Renewal. Number 24, Agency and Disability Resource Center Memorandum of Agreement. Number 25, Burn Justice Assistance Grant for TNT. Resource Management and Administration Committee recommends approval of the following resolutions. Number 26, DK Security Contract Renewal. Number 27, rain gutters for the Historical Courthouse. Number 28, Emergency Power Supply Unit, Grand Traverse County Jail. Number 29, Wildlife Management, Power Island. Number 30, 2011 Wage and Benefit Package for non-contract employees and elected officials except judges. Number 31, Collective Bargaining Letter of Agreement with AFSCME. Number 32, Letter of Agreement with AFSCME, Waiver of Probationary Period. Number 33, Classification Plan Amendment, Finance and Administrative Services Director. Number 34, Staffing Plan Amendment, Health Department. Ways and Means Committee recommends approval of the following resolutions. Number 35, 2011 Budget Adoption and General Appropriation Act. Number 36, Contract Renewal Agreements for Bond Counsel and Financial Consultant. Number 37, IT Mobile Data Computers for Sheriff's Department. Number 38, Approval of 2010 Apportionment Report Equalization. Number 39, Personal Property Tax Audit Tax Management Associates Incorporated. Number 40, 2011 Employee Health Insurance. Number 41, Budget Adjustments. Number 42, Safe Haven Grant Acceptance. Number 43, 2011 to 2013 Car Rental Contract. Number 44, Credit Card Payments and Processing, Fifth Third Bank.
You've heard the consent calendar. Is there anybody in the public would like to have anything removed? Number 40, I'll bet. Number 40.
Do I need to go to my side?
You don't need to.
Yes.
Anyone else? How about the board?
Number 30 and number 35, please.
Any others?
Number 39, please.
39?
Who pulled that?
We
I pulled 39.
Thank you.
29.
29. Okay.
Which one was pulled off by?
35.
Number 40.
40 actually, about here.
Okay, is that it? We still got some left to vote for.
So we have 4?
5.
Which one I missed? 29, 30?
35, 39, and 40.
Oh, okay. All right, thanks.
Yep.
I would move that we approve the consent calendar with the exceptions of items number 29, 30, 35, 39, and 40.
Support?
Moved and supported by roll call vote.
Commissioner Richardson?
Yes.
Stepka?
Yes.
Friend?
Yes.
Inman?
Yes.
Hooper?
Yes.
Wheelock?
Yes, ma'am.
Fleece?
Yes.
Max Bauer?
Yes.
Thomas?
Yes. Thank you. Next is the administrator's report.
Dean will handle the claim summary.
I passed out a copy of the October claims, total claims for the month of October, adjusted to exclude the STEPCA and APREA claims are $20,301,356.79.
Mr. Chairman, I would move that we approve total claims in the amount of $20,301,356.79.
Second.
It's been moved and supported by roll call, please.
Stepka?
Yes.
Friend?
Yes.
Inman?
Yes.
Hooper?
Yes.
Wheelock?
Yes, ma'am.
Fleece?
Yes.
Max Bauer?
Yes.
Richardson?
Yes.
Thomas?
Yes. Now the APREA claims.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion that we approve the STEPCA APREA claims for September in the amount of $1,852.62.
Support.
Been moved and supported by Brent. By roll call.
Commissioner Friend?
Yes.
Inman?
Yes.
Hooper?
Yes.
Wheelock?
Yes, ma'am.
Fleece?
Yes.
Max Bauer?
Yes.
Richardson?
Yes.
Stepka?
Abstain.
Yes.
Thomas?
Thank you. Now, the items from the consent calendar. Item 29. Wildlife Management, Power Island.
I had that removed because I'm not satisfied with the way they counted the deer on the island. I think it's just a wild guess. I'm surprised DNRE went along with it, and I've never seen wildlife treated in such a manner, so I'll not support the motion.
I'm not really in favor of it, although they've got to control the deer there somehow. But shooting 5 does, I don't think, is the answer.
Well,
Not when you leave the bar.
The question I had was, the way they counted them or didn't count them, is how did they know that that's all there is 5 does?
And they move back and forth.
Right.
You know, that's not that far from there to shore, and they can swim that easy.
I think you're right, they do. I think it's clearly it was an estimate, but I did want to clarify, the estimate was done by Fred Tank and the DNRE. It was not just done by our staff, it was done by the DNRE, who helped their biologist helped put the estimate together.
I think Fred contacted the DNRE and followed their recommendations.
Right.
And
But they were actually physically
communication.
on the island to help with the count.
I can get the guys I used to hunt with, and they'll go out there without guns and drive them off the island just by pushing them off, and they'll get them all off. And they'll swim to shore. I don't know. I don't think much of it myself, even though I know we got to control the herd or they'll starve themselves to death, but
I don't think it's so much that they will starve themselves to death, but they will damage the vegetation on the island to where we can't recover that, you know, and it is parkland. Mr. Chairman, I would move to approve the wildlife management plan as outlined for Power Island for discussion.
Support.
been moved and supported. Further discussion?
You know, as I told you before, I was part of the controlled hunt on that island in 1976, and I do know that we pushed deer from one end of the island to the other, and they swam to shore. You know, there's no question that happens. You know, I do think that this program has a couple of nice things in it. One, we're doing it under a controlled situation. We're having sheriff's deputies do it on their time, you know, so we don't have to worry about, you know, reckless discharge of firearms on the island. And the food is being processed by Deering's Market and donated to Father Fred. So all those are good things. So.
Anyone else? All those in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Aye. Roll call vote.
Commissioner Inman,
Yes.
Hooper,
Yes.
Wheelock,
Yes.
Fleece,
No.
Max Bauer,
Yes.
Richardson,
Yes.
Stepka,
Yes.
Friend,
Yes.
Thomas.
No. Next item is the number 30.
Yes,
Who's up?
Mr. Chairman, I pulled this item. I don't wish to consent. I don't wish to consent.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I would move that Grand Traverse County approve the 1.5% wage increase effective January 1st, 2011, 1.75% wage increase January 1st, 2012, and payment of health insurance premiums is indicated for non-contract employees and elected officials with the exception of the judges.
Is there support?
Support.
Discussion?
This is in line with the contract that we're offering all of our employees.
Yeah. All in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Opposed, the same?
Aye.
Roll call vote.
Commissioner Hooper,
Yes.
Wheelock,
Yes.
Fleece,
Yes.
Max Bauer,
No.
Richardson,
Yes.
Stepka,
Yes.
Friend,
Yes.
Inman,
Yes.
Thomas.
Yes. Next item is number 35, the budget.
Mr. Chairman, I pulled this. I don't wish to consent.
We have a motion.
Actually, I would like to ask a question on something real quick for Jen, if I might. One of the things I think that we talked about early on in the budget discussions was a priority to maintain the jail, the aging jail. And we had Captain Hall here talk about the benefit of having a facilities person in there that was a licensed plumber, skilled tradesman. And now I'm understanding with the way that the union works and the bumping that we may have an employee over there that is not a licensed tradesman. Is that correct?
We may.
It's possible.
It's possible.
I guess that's the answer. We cannot control
The bumping process.
the bumping process. It's set by contract, and it's based on seniority, so it's possible.
Your grounds maintenance worker that's currently not in the budget has more seniority than the plumber over at the jail, as well as a few other employees
They
in the
would have-
facilities department, and there could be some bumping. There could not be as well.
They
We
would
don't
have to-
know.
They would have to meet the
Minimum qualifications for the position.
qualifications.
Also, could you talk to me a little bit about what I heard in public comment about the staff size changing? Because I didn't follow all those numbers, went past me pretty quick. The staff size from prior to currently, specifically, you know, with regard to we've added buildings and so forth.
Oh, well, I think Paul Johnson was correct. I think the staff size is either 2 or 3 less than what it was. I think he talked about in the late 90s, and we've added at least 4 buildings to that staff since then. Now, part of the thing is we've gotten more efficient in the way we do those things, and we're doing things differently. But clearly, the staff, he is absolutely right, the staff is down in size from what it was years ago.
Okay. Now, currently with the budget, we're eliminating how many out of facilities management?
I would have to look, but I believe it's 2. A groundskeeper and a custodial employee. I believe it's 2. I believe that's correct.
Okay. What would be the budget ramifications if we restored the groundskeeper position?
Did you bring that with you?
Run up and get
We
it.
could run up and get that number. I don't know what that number is offhand. It's going to be somewhere in the $45,000 range.
Yeah.
I believe.
you're comfortable, Dennis, that with the absence of the custodial position, that we would be able to maintain the buildings, that they can adjust the workload?
I'm comfortable that we can maintain the buildings. I'm not as comfortable that we'll be able to keep the grounds in the same level of repair by losing the groundskeeper. I think that's going to be more problematic, but we'll do the best we can.
Okay. I'd like to wait for that number.
You know, I received an email from Mr. Johnson regarding, and it was the letter that he wrote tonight, and I really have some concerns about the elimination of that one individual. If you look at all the buildings that have been added, and like he said, instead of being proactive, they'll be on a reactive, and we do have a large investment in all of our facilities, and have it go backwards for the sake of one person, and I don't think they're staffed heavily at all. When you look at the number of buildings that they take care of, I'd say they're minimal staffed as it is without cutting anyone. And in his letter, he says our current staffing is now, when he hired in 97, it was 12 maintenance employees and 8 custodians. He says now there's 11 maintenance personnel and 11 custodians, and the thought of losing one of each on January 1st is going to impact them. Plus, he states they're going to lose 2 part-time seasonal workers next summer. I think that perhaps we ought to reconsider based on his letter, and I think he must have felt pretty strongly about it, not only to have written such a detailed letter, but to have driven in from Fife Lake just to read that letter to the commission. I think he truly is looking out for the good of Grand Traverse County and their facilities. And it would be my recommendation that we restore that position.
Could we possibly table this until after the other 2 agenda items when we have, oh, sorry.
Yes, sir. The cost of the groundskeeper maintenance, the grounds maintenance worker, excuse me, I was wrong, is $60,076. Thank you, Dean.
You know, I've mentioned this to a few of you, that I wouldn't have any problem dipping a little farther into fund balance than keeping all our employees that are scheduled to be laid off if we pass the budget the way it is. And the reason why I'm not, that I am in favor of doing that is, okay, if we make that, that's a concession that we're making this year. We're going to keep everybody, the union should be happy, but by the same token, I want to do it with a little payback, and part of that would be for everybody in the county to give up 4 of their personal days next year.
Yep.
And that would, now, wait a minute. If they gave up 4 of their personal days out of the 8, now, most people that don't work for the county don't get any personal days. They have to work for their days. So if everybody gave back 4, that would be over $400,000 difference in the budget right there. Just by everybody giving up 4 free days that we pay them for. We'd have to use leverage against the unions and the non-unions to make some concessions. If you want to save money, that's a way to save money. Take some of them days back.
Mr. Chairman, we really should have the motion before the discussion, but since we already got into the discussion, we'll talk about it. My point would be, if we retain, and I'm not reinstating, I'm retaining jobs because we haven't gotten rid of them yet. If we retain all of these positions, number one, we have no leverage against the bargaining units to have any discussion about making any sort of concessions, and that worries me a little bit. The other thing is, you know, I've had, and I know all of you have heard me say over and over, that even if these positions are eliminated, I don't want to see the staffing plans amended, because we might have to put some of these positions back, but we might not. So, you know, I'm willing to try it live with the budget, we'll live within the budget as it's outlined, and if we get to June or July, we don't get the temporary seasonal people in here, we truly can't keep up with the grounds people, we go hire somebody.
Mr. Chairman, as long as we are discussing without a motion, I will, and everyone else is, I'm going to join in. This is the third year in a row that our spending has outpaced our revenue. Grand Traverse County, the number of employed individuals in this county has dropped 10% since 2007. Property values are not rising as they have in the past. Our expenses historically are rising, and this, I got this out of our audit, 4.5% a year. Our revenue is not. We have got to make some serious decisions about our future. And Chairman Thomas, I just don't see, how many bargaining units do we have?
13.
I just do not envision that many bargaining units giving up 4 days apiece. Plus, I am extremely uncomfortable with the county board funding programs while they are laying off employees. All that put together, I'm not supporting this budget.
Well, Mr. Chairman, I guess I'm not in favor of adding or taking more out of our fund balance to try to accomplish what you'd like to accomplish this year. I think we've gone through several years of hoping that the economy would rebound much faster, and in fact, past recessions have rebounded within a 2 to 3 year period, and this one is not. It's been very fortunate that this Board of Commissioners has been able to save during the good years and has increased their fund balance from $5 million to $9 million from 2001, and that we're probably one of the strongest counties in the state of Michigan financially. We just received a AA rating from Standard & Poor's over the last 12 months. Stating our very strong financial position. A lot of counties around the state of Michigan are not even near where we're at. They've had stagnant growth, lower growth over the past 10 years. We've had pretty decent growth over that period of time, which has gotten us to the point where we have the luxury of 18 to 20% fund balance that gives us the ability to use part of it as an economic stabilization fund, and that's the purpose behind the 18 to 20% target. As long as we, don't drop below the 18%, that money is really allocated there for economic stabilization, for the downs and ups that we see every year in our budget. Rather than laying people off one year and then hiring them the next year, we've got a little continuity. So I think it's good to use the fund balance. We just got to make sure that we use it wisely and smartly. I'm not, I like the plan that the Board of Commissioners has come up with this budget in terms of using $625,000 out of the fund balance for this year and potentially for next year to help bridge us into 2013, and then take another look at it. I think if the situation is stagnant at that point in time, then I think it's incumbent upon us to make further cuts. So I'm going to be a little bit optimistic and hope that the economy stabilizes and we can start inching forward a little bit. But if that doesn't happen, I think the Board of Commissioners has got a reasonable plan to maintain their fund balance at the targeted level and to get us to a point where if we need to make some more structural cuts, we're going to have to do them. I think we need to make structural cuts now to a certain level. I would have been a little bit more aggressive, but I'm not unhappy with the positions and what we've done in terms of reinstatement because we have the fund balance to do it and to justify it. So I say let's go with what we have, and if it continues to deteriorate in the next year's budget, we can look at potentially some more cuts. Now, Chairman Thomas, I think you got a great idea. I mean, if the bargaining units want to come in and say, hey, listen, we'd like to restore some positions or have the ability to maintain positions, and we're willing to give concessions for the following year's budget or even in the interim for the 011 budget, I would be very receptive to doing that. So, the offer's on the table as far as I'm concerned.
Well, I'm not going to vote against the budget just because I've got a good idea. But, we don't have much of a hammer rolled over their heads. And my plan was to, if things aren't better next year and they don't make any concessions, we'll lay them off next year. I don't care how many it is. Yes, sir.
Well, I happen to agree with you, and Christine, I really take exception to your comment in the newspaper about your fellow commissioners spending money like drunken sailors. Number one, I've never been in the Navy. Number two, I don't think you can find anybody that says I've been drunk around the public streets. And number three, that's a direct reflection upon our naval veterans. I would think that they would be upset, and I think you owe all of them a public apology. Number two, Commissioner Wheelock, I disagree with you on the leverage issue with the unions. I think Chairman Thomas is right. I think if we retain those positions this year, the leverage comes in. If things don't improve significantly next year, we want the 4 days, and the ones we don't get it for, well, we've got to get that money from somewhere. We take it out of the departments that the employees didn't want to participate.
Mr. Chairman, I would move to adopt.
Commissioner Thomas, I have a comment. Hold on one second.
I'm sorry.
That's okay. I would not agree with taking more money out of fund balance. I don't think that would be a wise move. I think that, the commission has decided to spend $650,000 out of it this year, $650,000 out of it the next year. As well, we had some built into contingency that we have utilized in looking at the budget. The things that we have added on in the most recent weeks have been added on not because we've found more contingency money, not because we've dipped further into the fund balance, but rather because we've looked at our projections of our revenues, and we've seen where they have differed from where they were 2 months ago when the process was started. And we've seen, okay, here's what we estimated, here's where we're really coming in at, and here's the difference in revenues, and where might we put that back into the budget. And I think that that's an appropriate thing to do. Now, I'm understanding, even from when we met last week, revenue projections are being adjusted. The 1% with respect to the property tax, the CPI, has been certified at 1.7%. Monday. And so that is from last week. That's an additional $140,000 that has not been taken into consideration with this Board of Commissioners. So, and I've said before, you use the fund balance in context of a larger scheme. And I'm hearing that the intent of this commission is to go forward when they're building the 2012 budget to do some strategizing with respect to what services they want to provide and what services they don't want to provide, budgeting for outcomes. And I think that that's an appropriate thing to do. And when you go to do your budget process next year, you may be eliminating entire services. And if you find that that's what you should do at that point, that's an appropriate thing to do. For this year, it's been determined to use the excess fund balance spread over 2 years. And yes, take a look at those revenue projections and utilize them to have the continuity for the county services. So I would make a motion that we would approve the resolution and amend it to reinstate the groundskeeper position.
I'll support that.
And the revenue, I would like to clarify in that motion that the revenue for that would come from the certified, the CPI being based on 1.7% rather than the original budget of 1%. and that's the end of the motion, but I would just like to comment, I'm understanding that the remaining amount will be taking a look at, do you want to comment on the remaining amount?
Well, our suggestion would be, if you do this, that you hold the remaining amount in abeyance and use that to kind of offset what's before the tax tribunal. We have a large number of challenges before the tax tribunal, and I think Dean and I feel we should save some money aside for that, because we had figured it at a 50% loss. It could be a 70 or an 80% loss.
Further discussion?
Can I clarify? So we have, I understand I've been gone for several days, so you have verified that there has been a change in the CPI?
Well, remember, we thought it was going to be at 1.1. Lori thought, she had heard that it was going to be at 1.7. It was certified last Friday, and we received notice of it Monday, that it's certified at 1.7 for a CPI.
All right, thank you.
Ross?
And just to clarify, the number you gave us last week was based on 1%, so 1.7 actually gives us an additional $140,000.
That's correct.
Anybody else?
Okay.
By roll call vote?
Commissioner Wheelock?
Yes, ma'am.
Fleece?
Yes.
Max Bauer?
No.
Richardson?
Yes.
Stepka?
Yes.
Friend?
Yes.
Inman?
Yes.
Hooper?
Yes.
Thomas?
Yep.
Okey dokey, good suggestion.
Okay, now we're...
Next item, moving right along here. Personal property tax audit.
Mr. Chairman, I have long-standing been opposed to personal property tax, in that I believe it's a terrible thing on businesses in our community and throughout the state of Michigan, and therefore I will not be supporting this motion.
Somebody want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the resolution, personal property tax audit as presented.
Second.
Moved and supported. Discussion?
Mr. Chairman, although I agree with Commissioner Wheelock that if I was the ruler of all, I would remove this tax from business. I don't think it's a fair tax. Never liked it from the beginning. But unfortunately, it's the law, and some are paying and some are not paying. And I think we've taken the softer approach, and that is to go and identify a list of those that aren't submitting it and do an inquiry on those folks. So, I think it's just a matter of fairness at this point, whether you like it or not, in terms of whether you support it or not. I think there's got to be a level playing field that we can even off here for a bit, and then we can express our viewpoints to the legislature and the new governor coming in about this issue.
I don't like this tax either. However, it is the hand we're dealt. And I don't condone people breaking the law and punishing, in effect, those who are complying with the law.
Well,
Commissioner Thomas? Oh.
I'm opposed to this tax too, and always have been. A lot of people get away with it. I do think that if you're going to audit, though, I think you should audit everybody who's in business. But one of my biggest oppositions to it is this is the job of the township assessor, not the job of this equalization department, so. I haven't decided yet whether I want to vote for it.
I would concur with your remarks. It's a township function and duty. I don't feel it's a function of the county. And I like Commissioner Wheelock. I think it's an unfair tax also.
Anybody else? Might as well call for a roll call vote. Be quicker.
Commissioner Fleece?
No.
Max Bauer?
Yes.
Richardson?
Yes.
Stepka?
Yes.
Friend?
Yes.
Inman?
Yep.
Hooper?
Yes.
Wheelock?
No.
Thomas?
No. That passes.
Yes.
Now, our favorite subject, number 40, employee health care.
Who pulled that?
Want to start with the motion?
I'd like to move that the Grand Traverse County approve the recommendation to enter into a fully funded agreement with Blue Care Network of Michigan for employee health care benefits beginning on January 1st, 2011.
Is there support for the motion?
What was the motion again?
Support.
Motion is to pass this.
To select Blue Care Network as our health care provider, health care insurance provider.
Did we have a member of the public pull that and wish to speak? Or is...
I've already commented.
You have already commented. Is Mr. Chairman leaving?
He's just
the
getting a
meeting?
drink.
Why don't you take over there, you're vice chair.
All right, I'll take over. Okay, we have does any, I guess I will open this because it's an important issue. I don't know if all of us are here for this issue or not, but I know we've talked during public comment. Has anybody not spoken on this issue and wish to make the remarks on this before we deal with it? Okay, we'll turn it back to the commission. We have a motion on the floor to move forward with the resolution as presented. And it was supported. Discussion, Commissioner Wheelock.
I guess I have a number of problems with this issue. First, if we're going to bid projects or bid services, we need to bid the services. We shouldn't get a price from one person and then, what appears to me that we contacted one person and then we contact the other one and says, Blue Care will do it for this much, will you cut that price? And we went back and forth 2 or 3 times, apparently, because we got at least 2 different bids from each of the vendors. That bothers me a little bit. Actually, that bothers me a lot. And then the second item is the idea that, our current vendor sends us a renewal rate, and then because they find out they're not the only bidder, they send us a revised bid that's $250,000 a year less money.
So how much were they gonna take
That bothers me a lot. So I'm still not sure that I want to support, I'm pretty sure I don't want to support the motion, but I'm not sure I'm not willing to go out and solicit bids, have the county solicit sealed bids for the services as a specific outlined service for a specific date, and then we make the decision.
That's what you were saying, wasn't it?
I'd have to agree with Sonny that the bid process seemed awful skewed and distorted. And I have to say that my experience with Priority has been very good. That they're very helpful, they're very easy to work with. And I can certainly understand why people have a fear of changing carriers, changing the whole system all over again, and trying to find somebody they can accommodate, although that was addressed, and they seem to feel confident that it's not going to be an issue for the most part. And so for them, as much as I support Priority, I think I will have to go with the Blue Care Network.
When we had this discussion a year ago, one of the reasons that Dennis gave us for having a budget, an agent for our health insurance was that the agent had more freedom to negotiate price than we would as an entity, because we as a government would have to say, okay, this is a formal sealed bid process, and we have a cutoff date, and now we open the bids, and that's it. So yes, there has been more wheeling and dealing, if you will, but the result of that wheeling and dealing is that we're looking at healthcare costs of $500,000 less than what Dennis and Dean put in the budget for next year. At a time when we were looking at, when everyone talks about 10% increase in healthcare costs, we're looking at a 3.3% decrease in healthcare costs for county employees. Now, I understand that people like Priority Health, and I think that's great, and I certainly have no ill will toward Priority Health, but the reason we have the ability to do this is because, we put it out into a competitive environment and, open it up to the free market. The free market said we can do it for less, and we would be fools in this situation not to take advantage of that. On top of that, the first $250,000, which was just the decrease in what we were getting from Priority Health in the first place, funded a number of county positions and other county programs that we support outside, specifically county government, which were going to be cut in the original budget. So it's not like the money that we're saving was not benefiting county employees. So obviously, I am supporting this.
You've gotten, what was passed around, I had asked Terry Root, I had called him and said, tell me a little bit more about this process, exactly what was asked for when, and he was kind enough to go through and do a timeline. And I thought this was kind of interesting. One of the responses from Priority Health was on their submitted rate, now not the one where they would match Blue Care Network, their previously submitted rate was, they will not change unless there is new information to review. So, I mean, come on, if this isn't an argument for the free market system and competition, I don't know what is. You know, this is more than this is a 3.3% decrease from our current spending, but it's a 4.8% decrease from what it would have been had we gone with the renewal. So, you know, I don't know. I looked back at some of the information I had, and the county practice has been to rebid, formal bid process every 3 years on the insurance.
Agent.
No, not the agent. The insurance, healthcare insurance company. And every year, and Dennis has mentioned this before, and I found it in written documentation today, but every year, though, they do a cursory review to see if they can get us better rates. They don't just try to get us better rates, you know, every 3 years, but it happens every year. And in this case, they were able to get a very competitive rate by Blue Care Network. And, you know, I kind of think that, you know, if Priority Health were going to take us for, you know, 6 figures, they would have gladly done so. And I'm kind of glad there's competition in the system. I say we go with the Blue Care Network. I do understand the apprehension from the employees about switching the carriers, but from what I can tell in the discussions that I've had in the past few days, you know, I'm confident that although there may be some glitches in system, I think that it will be, overall, the change will be fine. And I also understand, too, from someone who's used to working with Blue Care Network, someone in the insurance industry, that they are, anytime there's like a situation that falls in a gray area, maybe a provider or so forth, that they are very receptive to individually looking at that case-by-case basis and seeing if they can't make something work for the person who is insured.
I too will support the motion to switch to Blue Cross. It's my feeling that Priority should have given us that price to begin with on our renewal without even asking them. Number two, I think the letter received from Mr. Crowfoot was totally inappropriate. I think you're trying to sway or manage the commission privately, and it's a public body. You have the opportunity to come here and speak to us all, rather than send us a letter that comes special delivery. I found that totally inappropriate, and I would hope you don't do it again. But I definitely, if Priority was so interested in saving us money, like I stated earlier, I think they should have put the renewal offer, that should have been their offer, and then we wouldn't be having this conversation.
Larry?
You know, I'd like to compliment Terry Root and his people over there for the due diligence and the time and effort he's put into this process, and the willingness of Blue Care Network to really come to the front of the line and say, I want this business and I'm willing to match. I'm willing to give you the equivalent benefits that you're currently providing. And they made a big, bold statement. And Priority, you know, as far as I'm concerned, they came back with we would have never seen a match bid from Priority unless there was a Blue Care Network, in my opinion. And so, you know, I think fair is fair. They led the charge. Blue Care Network led the charge. They gave us an incredible bid. And I to me, I'm not going to accept something that comes in late that tries to match it. I think we should, I'd like to really compliment both Terry Root and the folks that came here for Blue Care Network on a job well done.
Anyone else?
I did have something. I was looking back at the public comments made from Priority Health, and specifically, they mentioned that they've delivered exceptional value. And I would say that probably our employees and those insured by Priority Health have had good care with the healthcare providers that they've had. However, I would maintain that exceptional value for the county would have been having that discount for the past couple years. And I would mention here too, he mentioned that if he had known the expectations from the county were based on a competitive relationship. Hello? No, we don't want a competitive relationship. Take us for the most you can get us for. You know,
I want to just make some comments about the process. I think the process was flawed. And I think when we go out and bid agents and we determine who our new agent will be, I think we need to give more direction to how the bid process should be undertaken. I think the comment made earlier was a fair comment. We bid it out every 3 years, and then typically what we do, and I can be corrected on this if I'm wrong, but I think I'm right, we go to the bidder that we received and we try to negotiate a price based on what market has. We don't go back out typically, Terry, correct me if I'm wrong, we don't go out typically in between and bid on renewal rates, do we?
Well, I would just say one thing, Dennis, that, you know, you are a public entity and you are required by PA 106 to put bids out every 3 years. That's a requirement by the law. However, I would add that we do bid it out pretty much every year to see what the markets are.
So like this year, did you go back to like Aetna?
No, Aetna was not a competitive bid last year.
So you just picked the two lowest.
We picked the ones that were part of the PA 106 players that made sense.
I think we need to put more input into the process to make sure we don't get into this last minute thing of you know, we could have done better, we could have done better, we could have done better. You see what I mean? You can make the same arguments for Blue Cross as far as I'm concerned. They came in $250,000 under, and then when they were talked to again, they came in another $250,000 under. So in both cases, I think our process is flawed, and I think next year we have to look carefully at giving more direction to our agents in terms of how we want to undertake that. That's my only comments.
Who else? Somebody had their hand up.
I think it was me. I just wanted to note that I've been contacted by a couple of employees concerned about the timing with which they received information on this, and I guess the little time that they had to compare each plan in terms of services. And I just want to make sure that their concerns have been heard and make sure that we're being fair to them in giving them a fair opportunity in which to make a comparison of services.
Well, just to try to respond to that, the county board at their committee made decision last Wednesday, and Friday we had a memo out to them indicating the change that was underway. We received a comparison of the two plans, Jen, Monday afternoon? Mm-hmm. Late Monday. And I think that was provided to union representatives and things. So there has not been a lot of time to get the information to the employees. We didn't get it till late Monday.
Just following up on that, could I? Obviously, if we do make this change, we would have adequate and quick information to employees on how their benefits would change, because I do completely understand the uneasiness they feel with, you know, the thought of changing the county, changing carriers. And I think that we need to get that complete information out to them. My understanding was when I talked to Terry that these were very competitive programs, bidding really apples to apples. I mean, there wasn't the differentiation in cost because the services were inferior.
We think that one of our big concerns is that our labor contracts say that the healthcare has to be substantially equivalent. That's a standard that we have to meet. What does that mean? Well, you don't really know till it's challenged, but we believe in our evaluation, based on what Terry gave us, that these programs are substantially equivalent. Does that mean that a union, we have a representative here in the audience, does that mean a union won't file a grievance based on this? It doesn't mean that at all. It's very possible that we may get grieved on this, but we are telling you as your staff that we believe it's substantially equivalent. Does that mean we'll have to go through a grievance process, perhaps an arbitration? That may happen, but the benefits appear to be substantially equivalent, don't they?
Correct. Yep.
You know, I guess I'm less disturbed by the resolution than I am by the process. I really am not happy about the way this thing happened all the way through. But I guess the question that I would have for you, Jen, would be, if you had all of the information that you have today, a week and a half ago, when you prepared the recommendation to the Ways and Means Committee, would your recommendation be the same?
No. Because if they were exactly the same, why would I put the employees through the trouble of changing carriers? I look at it from the employee standpoint. There's going to be some disruption. There's going to be some primary care physicians. If they were exactly the same, then I wouldn't have recommended you go with BCN. But I recommended that based upon the information I had at 5 o'clock on Thursday.
But based on the information that you have tonight, you believe that the two programs are the same?
Correct. Substantially equivalent.
And therefore, you would not have made, with the information that we have today, you would not have made the recommendation to make the change?
If I had everything on, at the same time. Correct.
To avoid the disruption.
Exactly, to the employees. I mean, I mentioned it at Ways and Means, and I'll mention it again. We've had a lot of employees go through a lot with these layoffs, and there's been a lot of question and concern, and this is just one more thing that has been a question or concern on their minds. And as the HR director, I am the employee advocate, and I will just say that that's where I would look at it from, is if they were exactly the same at 5 o'clock on that Thursday, that I wouldn't have recommended to change it, because a change right now with everything else that's going on with some of our employees, I wouldn't see as being the appropriate time to do so.
The point is, we're making the decision tonight. So what I'm asking you is, based on the information that I have in front of me tonight, is the right decision to make the change? And I'm not sure I'm hearing that you're telling me that it is. I've been through this a couple times with my employees, and, every time you change companies, no matter how much due diligence you spend, there's always issues. I've worked with Terry and Jay and Dolly long enough to know those folks have done their due diligence to make sure that we got the best price we could. And, I absolutely know that if any of our employees have a problem, they're going to work through it to help us get it taken care of. But I do know that there are going to be problems with the change.
Well, I would, people don't like change. I worked for the city for 29 years, and I don't ever recall anybody that I worked with, number one, emailing commissioners, number two, coming to a meeting and expressing their views on a benefit that they were receiving. We were glad to get the benefit. And if it's substantially the same, it's a minor disruption, but so is the $500,000 that we would have spent if we hadn't made the switch. That's more than a minor disruption.
Anything else? By roll call vote?
Commissioner Max Bauer?
Yes.
Richardson?
Yes.
Stepka?
Yes.
Friend?
Yes.
Inman?
Yes.
Hooper?
Yes.
Wheelock?
No.
Please?
Yes.
Thomas?
Yes. That completes the consent calendar.
Because Jen is here, I had a question.
Well, I do too, so let's keep her here for a minute. All right. Go ahead, fire away.
The RFP for the employee benefits agent?
Yep.
specifically on the list of qualifications, minimum qualifications, including experience with at least one public entity that has an annualized health insurance premium over $3 million. Do you know how many insurance agents there are within the county that would qualify for that?
I think the answer to that is no, we don't. And if we did, we would be directing a bid that would be tailored to one or more companies. So, no, we don't know that. We have no idea of that. But we think it's important that whoever we hire as an agent has some experience with a large municipal business, because municipal businesses, especially with our labor unions, 12 labor unions, are considerably different.
While you're here, I was contacted by Doug, and Larry was contacted by him. Would it be appropriate for me to request that we work on that retirement, health care, the amount they're paying and all that?
My suggestion, Jen, you weren't here when we did this last time on Doug's particular problem, were you? My suggestion would be that if the board wants me to, I'll have Jen review the issue and come back, and give you a comment on it. But I think she needs to see it first and review it with Doug first.
Well, if you do that, I'd like to work on it between now and next month.
Well, Commissioner, I can't promise you we can get it done between now and next month with the added things that she's doing. We'll do our best.
Next month is Monday, right?
Man, you're tough.
Sorry.
You got to understand, with all this extra stuff, she's getting a little testy.
You get a little punchy on us there.
Sorry.
No,
Good.
She's not that.
All right.
Go ahead.
I'll absolutely look into it. I mean, it's my answer.
Mr.
Yes.
Chairman,
You got till December 1st.
we'll do it as quickly as we can, but I just, she's got lots of things on her
Well,
plate, and we keep adding in.
I think he's got legitimate complaint, myself.
I'd like to see that added to our administration agenda 2 weeks from now. And just for discussion amongst the board, and then perhaps we could give the staff some direction as to what the board thinks, but I too feel it's a...
Well, do you want to review the last analysis that we did? And then make a decision whether you want us to do a new analysis? I mean, we'll be glad to do that, if you like.
What's
I'm
really,
not saying in 2 weeks, I'm saying I'd like to see the board just have a discussion.
Well, but what I'm saying is you need some information to discuss.
Yeah.
Some of the commissioners weren't there, and so I think what we need to do is pull the information we had from the last time we went through this, and we'll get that to you, and then you'd have something to discuss, Commissioner, and then in the meantime, Jen can be working on it, and then give you some answer
I'd
after
also
that.
like to know how many retired employees are in the same boat.
There's nobody that's in the same boat. I think we clarified that last time. But sure, we'll get you some information, and we could put it on RMA agenda in 2 weeks. Does that sound appropriate?
Well, if that's not feasible...
No, it's totally feasible.
Okay. Well, that's
we just
what
won't
I'd
have an
like-
answer for you by then.
Yeah, I'd like to see that, if it's possible, and if not, so at least we got something to discuss.
Jen, is the basics behind this whole thing is that, I can't remember, it was 8 years
Commissioner,
ago, whatever.
She has never reviewed this issue,
I
so she
understand.
doesn't even know what the issue is.
I understand that, but she understands the concept.
She doesn't even know what the issue is.
Well, she does, because I just talked to her a couple days ago.
Oh, I didn't know you talked to her.
Yeah.
You didn't,
Okay.
you talked to me?
Well, I had mentioned something about, hello, about the retiree healthcare, and with the retirees.
The sun was
like-
in his eyes, I tell you.
Jen, do you have any knowledge of this issue?
No, I'm just talking about, I'm not talking about his issue, I'm talking about the general issue is that
Retiree
the
health.
board, some time ago, 10 years ago, whatever it was, decided to take the retiree thing and put it in its own retirement plan.
Yeah.
And kept the county's employees in a separate one, lowering our premium.
Yep.
So the whole issue of the county's the retirees issue is that they're in a small pool.
Correct.
That's higher risk.
Correct.
And that's the issue at hand.
No, that's post-65 employees.
Yeah.
That's not Doug's situation.
Well,
Doug,
it
it's
is
not Doug's situation.
But it is for
this is
people that are
not an
55. people are 55 to 65, if they come in here and buy their own deal, they are not in the county's group plan. They're in their own little plan.
Well, that's right, but you just got done saying we put it into an amount, and we said this is the amount, but those are those are people that are 65 years of age or older. It has nothing to do with Doug's plan.
I understand
No, he
that, but
meant-
I'm talking about the
Chairman,
people that
this is
retire
not
at
an agenda.
55.
This is not an
And they go
agenda
to
item.
65, they still are in, they can buy the insurance through the
just
county,
wanted
but
to be
they're in a
eliminated.
smaller pool,
Well,
higher
I think it was
risk.
moved.
that
Yes,
kind of
that's true, right.
That's the
We'll be
premise.
glad to have Jen look at it. We'll get you the last analysis in 2 weeks.
That's all
Mr.
I
Chairman,
asked.
I have a question that's actually related to the agenda item, I think. But I wanted to,
Agenda item.
the insurance.
Okay.
Am I clear? I wanted to take advantage of Jen being here as well as the Blue Care Network representative and just kind of ask you, do you have a rough outline on getting information to the employees? When can they expect something? What type of information can they expect and so forth?
Absolutely. I mean, we want to get it out there as soon as possible. I'll plan on meeting with Blue Care Network yet this week, and we can go forward from there.
You've already had
So-
one meeting with Blue Care Network.
Mm-hmm.
So we're
Okay.
working on it.
Yeah, yeah.
Right, thank
Yep,
you.
that's
We're
on
going to
the
have an
radar.
open enrollment, and that'll have to
Absolutely.
be before the first of the year for approximately how long, Jen?
How long will
Will the
it?
open enrollment be?
I would say, well, we're going to want to have sessions with Blue Care Network. We're going to want to provide them on site. We're going to have them at all the different locations.
All the
We're really
employees
going to
will
have
be
to map
invited.
this out and make sure that everyone's available to answer the employees' questions different times. Obviously, we've got some 24/7 operations. So I would say probably 5 to 10 days, business days for open enrollment this year, easily. Yep.
Okay, thank you. Any unfinished business?
No. I apologize, Mr. Chairman. Ross Childs was here.
And he was not
Brought
here.
all his paperwork in, and he left.
But it's not on the agenda.
No, but he had promised that he would have information
Okay.
for you tonight. He does not need to speak on the agenda. My suggestion is that if he doesn't show, which I don't expect he will, that I will just pass out for you at the end before you leave. I'll pass out all the
Okay.
information he has. I won't be able to explain any of it, but he has the business plans there from the action of today.
Now, is that going to show up in one of our committees, like administration then, or how's that?
Someday.
That's up to you. That's up
Okay.
to you.
A week from some Tuesday.
All right.
Okay, is there any
We'll
new
postpone
business? No new business? Public comment? Uh-oh, here goes another hour.
Dicky-doo.
Herb Lemkool, 907 Meadow Drive. On the health insurance, the only thing that I have a concern about is those of us that are Medicare. We have an enrollment period, I think that goes through December, that we have to choose, and I'm just concerned about that as to what's going to happen. So, those employees that are retired, that are over 65, we have to choose a carrier. And if we have, and that has to be done on a timely basis, so I just am concerned about that. So, just to be, Jen, just.
Yeah, we have to provide a 30-day notice.
So we have to have notice on that, so, thank you.
Anybody else? Mr. Campo?
Deputy, I'd just like to take a second here to say thank you very much for looking into this. I really appreciate it. I know it's a lot of work, and I know you guys are doing a good job. Thank you.
Thank you, Doug. Anyone else? Notices?
Hi. At the last Parks and Rec meeting, on the agenda, Russ Clark offered to do the Civic Center Master Plan for no charge, other than the cost of his making copies. And it was passed unanimously by the board. Now, Russ did say that he would do this on condition that and I've seen two different numbers, and I don't know which one this is, Dean. I've seen a budget number of $10,000 for the Civic Center Master Plan and another one $15,000 for the Civic Center Master Plan. So you might want to check on what the actual number is. But the condition that this work would be done at no charge by our Clark and Associates is that money is earmarked for implementation of the Civic Center Master Plan. So and I did ask Dennis this, and Dennis said, yes, the county board would have to earmark that money, agree to earmark that money in the Parks and Rec budget for the Civic Center Master Plan implementation. So Dennis, if you would put that on our
RMA?
next RMA
Yes.
committee meeting. And also, I wanted to remind the board that Georgia Durga is holding open a position. Georgia, for the members of the public that don't know, is the director of Commission on Aging. And we do have an opening for a grounds person on Commission on Aging, and perhaps the custodial person that faces layoff may be able to take that position, and I just thought I would mention that.
Three things. First, I just wanted to let you know, our Building Codes Department has had a great September and October, better than in several years. New homes, new commercial construction. They haven't quite figured out why that is, but it's up considerably, more than 25%. And so I thought I'd pass on some good news today. Secondly, I'm going to pass out, this is just the listing. It appears that the date that appeared to be best to hold the road commission interviews is November the 10th at 7 p.m. We only received 5 responses from commissioners, and 4 of them said that date was the best. So we're hoping that we can get that done that night.
How many people you need for that?
We're going to need to know whether or not you want to televise those, and you have a list here from
that's fine.
Chris Kramer on that, so I hope that that works for you, and please call Chris if that's problematic. We want to make sure we have a quorum. And then the next thing I wanted to mention is I'm pleased to announce, and I want to thank John Sykes for this, Grand Traverse County has received another grant, a HUD Community Planning Grant, in the amount of $395,000. This grant was applied for, and this is the press release that went out today. There were 583 eligible grants, and HUD funded 42 total in the country, which were both state and local governments, and we were one of them. $395,000, $50,000 to do our master plan, $50,000 for the Council of Governments to do housing information inventory and analysis, $100,000 for the City of Traverse City to develop their revitalization plans for their 5 main corridors, and $195,000 for the Housing Trust Fund to be matched dollar for every dollar we put into the Housing Trust Fund program. So John did an excellent job of this. The chances of this were really very slim, and we're really, really pleased, and I want to acknowledge his effort publicly on this.
If I could add a little bit to that, at the Land Bank Authority meeting last Thursday, this grant money actually came in Wednesday afternoon, I think. So, everyone was very excited. But remember that we have not, and this is the amazing part about it, we have not officially adopted the Housing Trust Fund yet. You are going to see a proposal to adopt the Housing Trust Fund very directly. We're just trying to get all of the ducks in a row. The Land Bank Authority is very excited about the possibility of using this and using the leverage for HUD money. Remember when we were here in, I think, August, September, and talked to you about the Housing Trust Fund. We told you how we would leverage that money to get monies from the federal government and from the state to help us provide affordable housing in our community. Here, before we ever get this thing formally adopted, is $195,000 of federal money. We are absolutely out front in the state, out front in the nation of creating a housing trust fund and using tax foreclosed lands to fund that.
Anything else?
One more
Yeah,
thing.
we have a full session, don't we?
Reminder that you have the Planning Commission Awards Banquet on November 4th, and you need to call Midge if you are going to attend.
What else is
Thank you.
No, we need to go to closed session.
Dennis, you're going to be late.
For the
You're not going to
purpose
be here for
of?
the joint township meeting.
Well, Richard, I mean, that depends on what you tell me to do.
All right.
Dennis, the name on this case, please?
It should be a case settlement on the Patrick Nolan case.
On second thought, I'm not sure that's, it's a criminal case where we were awarded restitution. I'm not sure it meets I've never been faced with this situation. This isn't
Okay.
civil litigation. This isn't a lawsuit.
Well, I have no problem in doing it in open session.
I think we just do it in open session.
I had asked Al earlier
That's
about it,
fine.
but
All right,
want to do it in open session? Can we do it now?
no,
All
we
right.
can do it in 5 minutes.
Jen, I think we can.
Well, here's Ross, too.
We can do it in 5 minutes and we'll rush it.
All right, Jen, do you want, do you want me to?
In 5 minutes.
Don't let him in.
We're gonna take a 5-minute break.
What?
We're gonna take a 5-minute break,
Okay.
or else I'm gonna have to change my diaper.
Either that or Bonnie's gonna have to do it for him. That ain't happening.
I've heard it all.
I woke up the other day.
After 18
Honest
years.
to goodness, woke up, the alarm went off, the news was on there. I think we should kill the buck. On the news, and I was like, oh my gosh.
If anybody wants any, I've got some warm diet squirt here. Help yourselves.
So basically,
Yeah. No.
If we would have accepted priorities, but even though they wanted to match,
In advance.
what that would have done is because
Boy, lucky for you, they're not playing tonight.
Oh, is it?
Might as well be here then.
Oh, right, yeah, because the line fell off.
I shut the coffee off, it's still warm if anybody wants some.
Show some? Yeah, it's covered on the terminal.
keeping pictures of them about
What's that? There you go. There you go.
Really good. And called.
Mine wasn't when I left, but it probably is now.
Yeah.
I went through it yesterday.
So this is just for information only now, right?
Jen, you going to take the lead on this?
Yeah.
Take the lead, will you?
Sure.
Really excited about the land bank.
Point to Al, point to me, and take the lead.
Last week, that would
Did we lose Mike?
we didn't get any bids.
Are we ready?
Well, you have to ask the chairman.
Making me think. Think about this.
Waiting on two commissioners.
All right, you're gonna wait for you.
Oh, wait for the guys in the corner.
Ready to go, Lawrence?
Commissioners.
Bring your lawnmower in here.
Hello.
Try and grab their.
Back.
Okay. What we have before us is, first, a summary, and I'm told this is the first time we've had to do something like this, so,
First time in our memory, which includes Al.
yeah. So, this is the case of Mr. Nolan. Mr. Nolan was arrested by a Grand Traverse County deputy in 2006. During the course of that arrest, the deputy injured his knee. And subsequently in court, the client, Mr. Nolan, was ordered to pay Grand Traverse County Human Resources $23,000 in restitution. That restitution was for the work comp costs of our deputy that was injured. And over 3.5 years, we received about $3,000 of that $23,000. And then this week, we received a settlement offer for the restitution in the amount of $10,000. This is from Mr. Nolan's grandmother is willing to pay this $10,000 for us.
So it would be a one-time cash settlement instead of
Settlement.
waiting to see if we get it over the next 6 years.
Yep.
Where's Mr. Nolan, and does he have a source of income?
He's in jail right now,
Oh.
and he works, I think, in the pizza
He's
industry.
a pizza maker.
He's in jail, and his grandmother has offered to make a settlement offer of $10,000.
Yes.
Bless her heart, and he should be ashamed.
And we're recommending that we take the settlement and
And when did the actual injury occur?
2006.
So it's already been over 4 years.
Yeah.
We're never gonna see any.
Mr. Chairman,
make him pay his own.
I would make a motion that we accept the 10,000 settlement from Mr. Nolan, and resolve the case.
Support.
Been moved and supported. Discussion?
Just let me add this, is that this is an order of restitution in a criminal case, and Judge Rogers has agreed to amend that order of restitution to allow this payment to be made.
Oh, okay, so it's done. Okay.
Well, it requires us to accept
But the
it.
board should vote on it as well, because it is a liability to the county, and so they should vote to accept a diminishment of that liability.
And it's your recommendation to accept this as well as Mr. Aloy's?
Having been through a couple of those restitutions from criminal things, you know, that $1.42 you get a week, or the $14 that you get this month, it takes it a long time to come back with $10,000.
Yep.
You know.
Over 3 years. Anything else? All in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Opposed? Same.
Aye.
Roll call vote.
Richardson,
Oh, yes, sorry.
Stepka,
Yes.
Friend,
Yes.
Inman,
Yes.
Hooper,
Yes.
Wheelock,
Yes, ma'am.
Fleece,
Yes.
Max Bauer,
No.
Thomas.
Yes. Thank you.
Shame on Mr. Nolan.
Ross, where'd he go?
Now where did he
Yeah,
go?
who said
No,
that?
Ross,
Exactly.
I talked to him at the break. He wanted to pass that out to you. He passed out all the information he had. I think that letter indicates he wants to set up individual meetings with you.
Okay.
And his intention, it was not on the agenda tonight, he just wanted to get you the information by today.
All right,
Motion to adjourn?
Second?
All done.
all right, good.
Are you sure you want to go home so soon?
It's only 9:30, it's not even 9:30 yet, what are you doing?
Yes, well, I did not say that.
Yeah, normally we can go 4.5 hours.
Hey, we've had a lot of those lately.
The World Series isn't over yet.